I was thinking I need to get the audio from this phone onto my computer and figure that out on open broadcast software, OBS, if you're looking to do your own show. Hello and welcome, October 20th, 2022, Berlin. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, your artist reporter. I have good news. I think it's going to be a shorter show. So good news all around, isn't it? So welcome back. Thank you for the shout outs. Just saw a tweet out there from Measureless. If you have nothing to do today on Twitter, or if you get outside Twitter, go to YouTube where Pocobelli is. So that was really nice. Let's get into it. Let's see how short we can make this for everybody's benefit. The shows have been creeping longer, haven't they? So turning over to our friend Rat Cloaksy, who has a very ambitious work here. This was released on Foundation, okay? And he already has a bid. His reserve has been met for 0.5 ETH. I have to say, this is my favorite way of selling work. Like, I'm probably going to start putting Ethereum work up at kind of a lower reserve, I mean, relative to maybe previous sales. And then they just go for what they go for. And I think actually Foundation, I think Superware might have actually potentially have adopted Foundation's kind of model, but I'm not positive on that, so don't quote me on that. But anyways, I love this because then it's 24 hours. Everybody has their chance. If you want it, you got to bid now. Otherwise, it goes for your reserve. So it's all good. So congratulations to him for meeting his reserve. And of course, this is part of Paradiglypse. Now, I want to take a closer look at this work before we get into our show notes, because this is done in his very trademark style here that we see on the St. Christopher work that I was lucky enough to purchase. And this beautiful Microsoft Paint work, his style is just awesome. And you see it on the jacket here. And the work itself, I mean, it is kind of a mysterious work. Private keep out. Kind of a haunted house. Kind of reminds me of actually Edgar Allan Poe, The Fall of the House of Usher. That's a story that where the house becomes a metaphor for the mind and for the person and the haunted brain. Edgar Allan Poe, huge influence on Baudelaire, who was a huge influence on, of course, the Surrealists and everybody else. And yeah, Baudelaire, I mean, we're getting literary quickly here, but which is great, which is part of what makes this show interesting, at least for me. Baudelaire translated Edgar Allan Poe's works, like all of them, as far as I understand, or most of them. Let's put it that way. So anyways, this is actually called Lord of the Flies. I haven't read any William Golding. I believe that's the name of the author, Lord of the Flies. Most of you probably have, though. It's kind of a work that you'll often read in secondary school, so most people know it. So I might not know all the references here, but I do know the references here. I mean, there's like a couple of drones, very modern imagery that maybe doesn't get used enough, and beautifully rendered. He reminds me in the sense, not in a similar way, but analogously of Morlakos, who just can apply basically his tracing style, but it's totally his own style. And it just looks beautiful. Look at these plants here, these leaves, and then the ones far away done with the airbrush. So really, again, Microsoft Paint, look at the grass, just awesome. And it's he does almost each blade, but then there's a roughness to it too. So there's a lot of subtlety in Rat Cloaksy's work. Again, if you go to his profile, you'll see some of his old paintings. So he comes out of traditional painting. Again, I'm not only multi-chain, but multimedia here. I'm a big believer in also painting. Look at Dan Control's awesome painting that we saw yesterday. He can totally paint, as we can see. And just interesting details here. One of these figures that seem to come out of some of the phone works, almost like, looks like, well, you know what this looks like? Wow. Let's see if I can just, William Burroughs, The Job, that cover. Let's see if we can find the Penguin edition. See, first of all, yeah, it kind of reminds me of this guy here, The Job, William Burroughs. Let's just take another look. So not exactly the same, But we do have some similarities there, don't we? A guy with a shotgun. So it's kind of like this almost, why is that? Almost American Gothic sort of thing, or however you want to call it. The classic kind of guy with a shotgun, American with a shotgun on the porch. Similar kind of idea. I actually had a Goa mix I called The Job, unreleased. I lost actually that mix. I'm going to recreate it at some point, but it's 20 years old, still in my brain. Anyways, very interesting work here. Got a stove, got this eye, and finally, let's not forget Morpheus here. At least that's what he was calling it in a previous tweet. This woman with the kind of trademark sparkles, rat cloaksy sparkles. So a beautiful work. Let's see how much that goes for. It is still available for another 12 hours. Again, I just love this. This method here, I think, is awesome. Kind of a lower reserve, not too low, but a lower reserve, and then just it goes for what it goes for. And that's fun. Kind of creates FOMO on the part of collectors, right? And you see how this series is starting to look quite nice. And another kind of series that just kind of looks great, has its own feel from Rat Cloaksy. So, very quick thank you to Polly Jojo for picking up Berlin Dinner. So another one of those have sold. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. And Polly Jojo also forwards me a lot of artists. So a few that we've profiled on the show. So thank you for doing that. That's always appreciated. A couple of quick comments here. So Uxine, commenting on yesterday, because I was mentioning the pricing, he had an interesting comment here. As Warhol said, being good in business is the most fascinating kind of art. Well, as far as I'm done with a piece, I don't really know what to do with it. Yeah, join the club, man. We're all kind of figuring it out. You see Rat Cloaksy is experimenting, where to list, edition, or one of one. And yeah, in a sense, that's kind of why I dropped the comment, because in a sense, this really is a artist, kind of for artists, by artists kind of program. This is my feedback. It's like, yeah, I think that thing could have went as a one of one. And you see Rat Cloaksy has moved towards the one of ones as well. And even like I've started on my object works, have started to defer to these low editions. And I almost want to go to one of ones, although I like editions because more people can collect. But I almost have a bias, you might say, towards the one of one, especially as a collector, and then you put out your editions for certain kinds of works is kind of like, the exception to the rule. And it's nice on object. It's part of that culture. Let's see what else Uxine says, though, because there's some good stuff. Most of the time I improvise. The good thing with improvisation, you learn a lot. When I was listing this, I was really thinking, I hope all editions are sold. Exactly. That's how most of us feel. We're just, it's sold. Oh my God. Someone out there on the internet, likes what I'm doing. So yeah, that's why I give you the feedback. That was at least a 2 ETH work in my universe. I could be wrong. That's just an opinion. RuneTune also had a very nice comment. I always appreciate your careful feedback on my comments, questions, and connections. And RuneTune has actually helped provide some of our best episodes here. Because he provides these intellectual provocations, and I use the word in a positive sense, and responses. And this is a salon of sorts here. That is kind of what I'm going for here. As Rorich says, this is a news channel full of financial advice. This is not a news channel, but thank you for the comment anyway. All comments are appreciated, and we love to hear from Rorich, who's a great guy. Now, this was interesting here. Thank you for the feedback, and I totally agree with you when you say many of those thinkers were being too creative and not necessarily trying to get to the truth. So that's interesting to hear that someone might agree with me on that. And that was one of those things that I didn't plan either, but it's like, yeah, it kind of resonated with me too as I thought about it afterwards. That being said, despite his sometimes, referring to Marshall McLuhan, sometimes disappointing categorizations, I think McLuhan did have some very topical realizations at the core of his ideas, mainly that our tools are an extension of ourselves and this shapes the way we behave and think. And absolutely. As I put there in response, it's kind of a mixed bag with a lot of these guys. You can't just write people off. And I'm talking with sweeping generalizations. Painting with a broad brush, as my old professor Peter Stoichev used to say at the University of Saskatchewan. He's now the president. I'll have to rekindle the flame there, send him an email at some point. But this is the point here. I totally agree. And concepts like global village is a Marshall McLuhan term, and that's a great concept. In a sense, we're kind of in the global village right now. Our 200-person program on the internet, and we're all it's a global village here. So McLuhan has a lot to contribute. There is a lot to take out. My concern is actually that the egos get involved a little too much. But I'm tempted, and we'll move on here, I'm tempted sometimes, and maybe I think I'm going to do this at some point here. We're building this program like a plane in midair here, okay? It's like we're building a plane as we're flying through the sky, as they say. But I'm tempted to even put on a little McLuhan, give us 30 seconds here and 30 seconds there so that we can start to get a feel for it. And just, and then we can discuss that. Because right now we're talking in broad generalizations. What are we talking about? We haven't really looked at any McLuhan here. We're just talking about, my sense of it and your sense of it. So maybe we should actually have some video on. I'm not sure if that's going to, flag the copyright police, but I'm willing to try. And I don't see little snippets of 30 seconds here and there in the middle of a video. That shouldn't cause any cause for concern. I thought I'd bring this up too, Gertrude Stein's salon. So here is Gertrude Stein. You see her Picasso work here. And I thought this was just kind of interesting. I've never actually done this search, the wonders of the internet. So this looks like, and maybe this is like a recreation here or the original, not sure, but you kind of get a sense for it here. There's Gertrude Stein. And Alice B. Toklas, I'm not sure if she has the autobiography of Alice B. Toklas. And I think that's actually her alias. So another kind of use of alias early on. So anyways, just a feel for the salon here, which I think, since we're discussing that, why not? Checking in on Art Basel, some almost live reporting here. State-of-the-art Art Basel from Paul. Safe to say people like FX hash and generative art. So let's just play this. Nice live view. So this is at Paris Plus. I assume last night. Look at that. Kind of a fun crowd, hey? So interesting. So just so you know what's going on out there, I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be great to have, I don't see people like Louis Osborne or just people, from the community. There are some, but I just don't recognize any of the art they put on, which is kind of interesting in itself. And finally, just an interesting news story here, particularly in the context of Haiti Rocket's issue with Object. Look at this. Shopify users get their hands on Tezos NFTs with new partnership. So we saw this with Shopify maybe 6 months ago, where they made a brilliant move of, I think you can have MetaMask and gated pages when you have Shopify. In other words, it's crypto friendly. So if I had 5,000 Poco tokens, I could say, people with 5,000 tokens, you only get to access this part of my shop, let's say, and get exclusive Pocobelli drops, for example. So we've been talking about this. We looked at Ed Marola and his solution, and also Purple Drank had his solution, which is basically you have an NFT, very simple, and you got to love it. And if you have that NFT, you get the drops or you have access, whatever. So this is interesting, though. Tezos NFTs are going to be available on websites when you integrate with Shopify. Here's the line. The Taco app allows brands to integrate Web3 solutions such as NFTs to increase engagement with customers, and e-commerce platforms such as Shopify use Taco app plugins to offer these services to their merchants. Kind of need an editor there on Cointelegraph, but thank you for the story. Continuing on, so just very interesting. Limbo also has gotten some bids here. I don't know if we looked at his work. The sound is awesome on this. Let's see if we can bring it up. He made the sound himself. Limbo's an acquired taste, in my opinion, but again, he's one of these artists. The more you look at, the more like about to go on a Limbo tear on some of his object works here, because I'm really, really, really starting to love his work. So, anyways, congratulations to him. I'm not sure if this. Let's see if this is done. Really cool music. Current bid 0.42. And if you look at his other work, he's done really well on Foundation, so it's going to be really interesting to see how he does on Super Rare. Look at that, 0.73, 0.79, 0.69, 0.49. So Limbo is a really impressive artist and very friendly guy. And so continuing on, Super Rare Acid Boy is giving away this work, and I just thought this was a head-turning work here. He's really good at this whole kind of acid vibe, and again, just exploring that one theme to the core. So if you retweet his work, you can enter the contest. He'll send this to you if you win. So there is that. So this is a work by Dan Control, who is also becoming a daily staple here. Surveillance camera, again having that airbrush look, but it's actually gradients. Really interesting decision with the wall here. I think a really nice move with this vertical line that goes through it. This sold out right away. Kind of an all-star cast of collectors here. Lorna Mills, Mech.txt, Greco, Martin Jojo. Not sure who Control Peters is. But yeah, this sold out pretty quickly. So is that everybody? Yeah, Label on Humans, Hologram Gallery, Sean Luke, Mikey Wilson. So the community loved this one, so it sold out right away. I Spy with My Little Eyes, a great work. A new Kappa for this Not Godzilla event, I think put on by Xerox NFT. So again, this was probably sent to the commission. So interesting colors here, unusual work for Kappa. Integrating, and remember Popple had a Godzilla theme? So I didn't put two and two together, but you see this was probably sent to the commission. And the commission sent one to Purple Drank, maybe. So yeah, still don't, you can look that up. There's actually one of the comments from the last week. I think it's someone called Parasite, or if you own the Parasite token, there's info on how to participate. And who knows how much that costs you. But anyways, it's in the comments if you look 2 or 3 episodes ago. Continuing on, I thought this was interesting. I didn't realize this was Dextier at first. I saw this. This is for auction. So Dextier is the guy who does the kind of GIFs that are kind of really simple beach works or like landscapes. This one was awesome. I missed this one. Right? Sunset on the Hill. And yeah, so he has a work for auction. It's only at 10 XTZ right now and only 5 hours left. These are JPEGs though. So he has removed that contrast, and they're a slightly different style, and they tend to feature, I think, this woman in the last two. So just kind of interesting. Yeah, you see another woman, although different colored hair, so maybe that's someone different. Anyways, a one of one, right now only 10 XTZ, 10 Tezos. And a surprise drop from Louis Osborne and a new series. So he just dropped this by surprise, the first of a new collection on Object, Playing with the Emotions, 20 of 20, 25 Tezos each, swapping now. So just go for it. And here it is. Now it's 50. We'll just quickly look at the work. Target acquired. So kind of looks like some kind of machine here. You know what this references? Is it Raoul, this Dadaist? I'm sure some of you guys know who I'm talking about. Raoul, I want to call it Dasman. God, that's a name I haven't looked up for a while. Not sure if that's the right name. It might not be. Raoul Hausmann, that's who I'm talking about. And his surreal machines. Let's do a quick search. Interesting Dadaist. And Ernst also, back to Ernst. Ernst also did surrealist machines. Let's just put Data Machines. Yeah, so, here we go. This is the super famous one. This is like attempting to call this a Dadaist masterpiece here, this one here. And yeah, so that was kind of an obsession of the Surrealists and the Dadaists, these machines. It's kind of just, that's a very vague reference, but why not in passing? Target acquired. So new work by Louis Osborne. This is a newer artist that I hadn't discovered who's also kind of in that illustrative camp, a little different. Gogo Porens. Deed, there's birth, there's death, and in between there's maintenance, talks about how humans can be repaired or even reprogrammed to become a better self. So I thought we could just kind of, again, it's always nice to get new blood here. These two kind of with kind of more complex compositions really stand out. Edition of 1000. So interesting. These compositions are really nice. Custom Go-Go's, not sure what's going on there. So anyways, Gogo Peren in passing. A new monster, and I'm not getting, interestingly, Daniel W's notifications. So there is probably a notification issue on object. So this is another monster, Umibozo, and this is from Japan. Perhaps the most mysterious of the aquatic yokai, the Umibozu's true form is unknown. Okay, so I'll let you read that, but just another nice new work from our guy Daniel W. A new work from Popple. So this is called The Observatory. You can still get this, I think, using generative art and pixel art. Very interesting. Kind of, again, with his sci-fi theme. I love this series. And you can see kind of like this guy down here. It almost has an Alien, like the movie Alien feel to it in terms of just its vibe. It's kind of like goop mixed with kind of retro old technology from the future. That kind of vibe. And the generative art that comes out of the eye here. At the observatory, one can see the darkest secrets at the corner of the cosmos at a mere cost of one's soul. So still available, I think. Let me just reload here. Yes, still available. How many copies? 9 copies left, so get it while you can. They tend to go up, but as Roerich says, definitely it is not financial advice, unlike what Roerich says. Tradscape, a little dose of reality from Tradscape. Burning the rest of Nicholas in a few days. Got to be honest. I'm not supposed to be showing my hand, but F that. Honesty is less boring, and I totally agree. And it doesn't lower your esteem in my eyes. Actually, it kind of raises it. That's old art world, where it's like you have to put on some big show of who you're trying to pretend to be. And so I like it when people are just honest. I can't afford to keep making these bad boys if they don't sell because they're a ton of work. It is what it is. This is some high effort SHIT sound on. So yeah, so if you like the series, you might want to give Tradscape some support. And it just shows you here, like Tradscape's a pretty well-known name, but so is Popple there. But yeah, I mean, it's very real, the marketplace on object here, which is part of why I love it. And yeah, and sometimes people just don't have the Tezos. Like I'd normally pick up the Popple. I just don't have the Tezos on me right now. So I need to make some work, sell that, and see if it's still available. Just an interesting pixel artist here. Hacko, Control, Clear FND, whatever. And I thought this subway work looked really cool. This rooftop. I just thought an interesting pixel artist that I found on Twitter. I'm not even sure if you can buy their work. Kind of mixing the manga and the pixel art. This really turned my head. Studio Time by YMMSH. Available for only a Tezos, but it's an edition of like 2,000 or something. I think a couple of hundred have sold already. Very nice work. I may pick this one up. Yeah, edition of 2,500. And how many are left? 2247. So 250 have gone. Very nice work. Kind of in the same style here, but a new style for Slave Angel, as far as I know. Artificial consciousness. Kind of reminds me of Spiegel's Maschinen. Those TVs going into the grocery cart. Hello World. So just an interesting, might not be a new direction for him, but I don't recognize. Let's just take a look at the profile here. Okay, so has some others maybe that are slightly, so he experiments a little bit. Anyways, that one stood out to me, Artificial Consciousness, with a little underscore there. New one from Pastelet, also known as Josephine Johnson. Let's see if we can turn on the music here. Very simple work here, but simple but powerful. There seems to be a kind of feminine theme, like a woman theme, on a lot of Pastellet's work. Like, let's just take a quick look at her work. So you can get that edition of 10 for 10 Tezos. So her trademark price. And you remember her, again, the woman in the teacup, the female stuff, this one here with the awesome audio and office woman. So you see, playing with the woman theme as subject matter, woman as subject of her work, the power of 1,000 supercomputers integrated into a synchronous think tank. Has a bit of a contemporary art sort of gallery feeling to her work. Interesting work by Ed Merola, trying to make these faster. Let's see if we can speed up the pace a bit here. Interesting one of one from Ed Merola, A Mountain. And this is part of a new series called Dead Nature. Okay? Or maybe not a new series. Sorry, there is also other works in this series. That's kind of nice. Sunset in purple, very nice. 10 Tezos. Another work by Ed Merola, kind of tackling nature with pixelation. I love this theme. I do it in my 8-bit nature series. Again, that contrast of natural organic forms with pixels. And Ed is also exploring that theme here. It's a natural contrast. We see it here in Byte by Bit, some very nice new nebulas. This is an edition of 5 for 5 Tezos, edition of 2 for Plant Pixel Retina Nebula. This is a very nice one. Edition of 2 for 7. And this one sold for 9. Very nice. I love the colored stars. So anyways, I adore this series. Here's a new one for 9. Tempted to pick this up, but can't buy everything. A Bean Nebula. A couple of pixel portraits also from our unnamed creator here. Let's see if there's any volume on here. Rick Ross, a famous hip-hop mogul, from my understanding. This is a very nice one. And we have another one. We'll put this on full. This is 50 Cent, gold edition. So again, we saw the Game Boy portraits, which were brilliant, of Coolio and maybe Tupac. And so we continue the theme here, but with color. Another artist that crossed my desk here, this is Armilk, a new artist. And I saw his Clown Vamp 8-bit pixel work here. He actually sent me a message saying that he found the show and he loved it. So I looked at his work, and yeah, I'd never seen his work before. I love that Clown Vamp. And there's a whole bunch of pixel art here. So really cool artists that I'd never found before. So it is AR Milk 88. And a huge sale for Strange Thing again. This went to Scooney for 1,000 Tezos. So let's just see the title here, Apocalypse. And here it looks like A Horseman of the Apocalypse, and there are 3 others, and a Stussy logo on some modern clothing in old painting styles. Seems to be the contrast here from Strange Thing. So congratulations to him, huge sale. Must have been one of the biggest of the day on Object. Sweetling, a one-of-one auction. So this is quite nice too. Another AI work by Venta. Let's see how it's doing here. No bids yet. So if you like AI one-of-ones, there may be an opportunity here if you're sneaky about it. And another one from Indie Doe, Nifty. I wonder if she I don't know if it's a guy or girl. I wonder if Indie Doe changed their name, because I thought it was Indie Dodo, but maybe that was on Twitter. It was a nice work. Edition of 10, 5 Tezos. I believe we saw Indie Doe do the Twitter one yesterday. So a lot of these are coming out. I thought I saw the Twitter one. Anyway, maybe I'm confusing them with another artist, but we recognize this artist for sure. Definitely that piece there. We've looked at several of their works. And finally, just a couple of physical works from Santiago, which I thought were quite impressive. And I love, again, not only multi-chain, but multimedia. I love this he's doing a lot of his style that he does on digitally, and we're seeing the physical version. I love that. And here's another great physical work from WOC, which went to Fake Whale, interestingly, minted and permanently stored in the Fake Whale vault. 9 months, spray on paper, 50 by 62.5 centimeters. So another kind of interesting crossover work from physical to NFTs. Pretty awesome work, I gotta say. I love WOC's work. So there you go, another episode. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care.